No noise. Okay. Let's go back to without it. Hi guys, nearly there. Just putting the light up. No, I'm working again. I can't help. Jan, please don't.
You need help?
What? No. Probably say that's better. Bit bright. Oh, turning up. Are you waving here? Okay. There we are. We can see something. That's my untidy desk with my stuff on it. I apologize for that. Right. Do we start? It's 2 minutes left. I think we'll wait for anybody else that's coming. And if there's anybody here, you can check if you can hear me or not. If you can hear me, do let me know in the comment section so I can see that it's all working. Cool. K1, K1. I'm not quite sure who that is, but hello, K1, KI. I've never done a live before. And just so you know, I'm tempted to look at the screen, which means I'm looking at myself. So if my eyes are a little bit off, like now I know I'm looking at my camera, which is a small green light, it looks a bit weird. So I do apologize for that. I'm not used to this, so even though I do my videos, it's not something I'm used to. Cam, yes, buddy. That's more like it. Right. Oh, cameras. Let's get cameras. Okay, so I'm going to wait until we have at least about 5. I'm probably too optimistic then. About 5 people, and then we shall start. So I think we're going to give it about another 5-10 minutes, give or take, and then we'll take it from there. That light does look pretty nice, actually. This is not my son's pram, it's my daughter's pram, I can promise you that. What's the need?
Come on. I'm sitting on the...
Is mommy looking as well?
No. It's Hayan. And my name's Hayan. Yes! Yes!
Does it do anything from this side? Ah, yeah, it does. It's very nice. Hello.
Hello, me. Hello, Hayan in the laptop.
Hey, Anne, you're on the internet.
Where's the video?
It's not video. Where's my mobile? Hey, Anne, look for my mobile, please. Look for my mobile.
Yeah.
That's not mobile, Amaya. That's my remote. It's here somewhere.
Oh, sorry. But I had this.
No, please, 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 please.
Hello. Hello, am I in the mirror?
Amaya, look at your hair.
I
Look at your hair. It's all messy. Come on. You need to make it nice and tidy, Amaya.
And I want to say mirror,
Huh?
mirror on the wall.
You can say it.
It's not gonna say something.
Say it.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. What is this called? It's not speaking.
Hmm?
It's not speaking.
Look, you're on the internet. Oops. Oh, thanks, Cam. Cheers, buddy. Apart from this drill over here. Yes, yes. Right, we have some people online. Guys, please do introduce yourself so I know who I'm talking to. It would be nice. Just so we know who's who. We have Cam. We have obviously me. And we have my kids.
I'm sleeping.
Okay.
I saw her sleeping.
Go switch the TV off then if you're not watching TV. And then, guys, we can start digging in and talking about photography and how we take some decent pictures. I will need a pad. And then I will need... Good girl. Okay, don't sit on the camera. Sharpie. That'll help. Okay, let me bribe some people to come and watch me now. Where's my group? Right, that's down to my guys. Be a bit of a shame if you only had these few people on. One person's gone already. Was probably never there. Goes to show how famous I am. Nobody loves me. Right. Last one. Okay, a couple more minutes and then we're ready to go. Promise. Come on, guys. Let's get chatting. Who's who? And what I really actually want to know is what cameras everyone's using and what intention do we have. So for me, I need to know so I can better explain how things work. The way we're actually going to try to do this is if I know the kind of cameras you got, it just makes the explaining process a lot easier. The way we're going to start is just by talking about the basics of photography. I will put a link over here to one of my earlier videos, which talks about, hi Paul, I hope you're well, my brother, or my uncle rather. We'll talk about, let's have a look. the exposure triangle, which is this one here. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. Let's see. I'm going to try share this video. There we are. Share this. Give a link. And I'm going to put a link down
Say
here.
hi to the camera.
So this will give everyone a better understanding. You can click on that link and you can actually watch what we're going to talk about, but obviously now we're just going to talk about it live. So that video, the link I've just put over there, he's grown, yeah. I don't know when you last saw him, Paul. I think maybe when he was born. So he's 5 years old now. Come here, say hello. Leave it from, just come over here.
Hello.
Come over here. He's 5 years old and he shall be 6 this year. And Maya, you can say hello as well. Say that, yeah. No, I know. Come over here. Don't touch the cameras. Sony A600. So that is kit lens and complete novice, terrible at maths. We don't really need to know a lot of maths. We just leave it.
Say hello to the camera, Maya. Say ciao. Say hello to the camera.
Say hello there. People are watching you, Maya. Say hello. Hello, everybody.
Why the people?
You can't see them here, but they're there.
They're just us.
It's not us. There's lots of people over here. You just can't see them.
Hello to the camera. One, two, your turn.
So the Sony A6500 is basically
One, two.
a mirrorless camera.
This is the camera.
And
This is the camera.
it's not like this one, obviously. Well, it is like this one. This is a mirrorless, and it's basically this is a Canon, because I'm a Canon guy. Similar kind of concept where you got the flip screen. The only difference being I've got the adapter on here where I can use my L series lens. Guys, please play outside. You're making too much noise. Go on. And you can put your L series lens on here, hence this adapter, because I don't like the kit lens. I'm sorry about this, guys. I do a lot of videos and I use this for that reason, and the lenses allow me to go down to f2.8. My kit lens doesn't allow me to do that, so I use it for that reason, but otherwise it can be done without this. So this one is a smaller sensor. Sensors are basically right inside it, a lot smaller than what the full frame camera is. Right, you two, I'm trying to work. We need to calm down and go quiet, please. Come on. Shh. Can you play over here quietly? Play with the cars over here. It's okay. You can play here. Huh? Where do you want to play? You can play inside here or you can play outside. Put them on the pram and take them. Good girl. Put them here. Push it. Good girl. Push. Hey, and push this outside. Come from here. The joys of working with children. Oh, by the way, I didn't shave because I wanted to. I shaved because I got bored, and I was trying to trim my beard at home because the hairdressers were on lockdown. So I did it, and I went a little bit wrong from here. So I just took it all off last week and or the week before, and I kept my little thingy, and then I got bored again, and I just took it all off. So I'm just keeping the stubble. It's going to grow back white, I think, my actual hair color, and I might keep it white this time. I don't think I'm going to dye my hair anymore. Right, I think that's all we have. There's 5 of us here. Let's start. So what we're going to talk about is the exposure triangle. Now, this is your basic fundamental for learning photography. What that basically means is these are 3 variables you have to think about when you're composing an image. So any camera that allows you to change these 3 elements So you can write these down if you want. One of them is aperture. The other one is shutter speed. And the other one is ISO. So when we talk about these three elements over here, every one of these cameras usually allow you to change these variables. It basically means you can balance your image to get it right. It's called the exposure triangle. I'm going to write SS for shutter speed for short. I'll call it AP for aperture, and ISO, I'll keep it as ISO. Okay, so this is how it basically works. You got your ISO, you got your aperture or your shutter speed. They can be obviously anywhere, it doesn't really matter. This is just a visual. Now, what we need to do on our cameras, if we have a look at a picture, we have to make sure that these variables are set independently so our image is exposed nicely. What does exposed basically mean? So you can see like this is done automatically with the laptop, but I've made it a little bit better with the light just on this side, which you can't see. This means everything is kind of nice apart from some shiny bright bits like this bit over here, which is really bright. That's this image. But otherwise, the darks are not too bad. The mid-tones are quite nice and everything is kind of nice. But you might be able to notice in these areas here, you can see it looks a bit fuzzy and grainy. I can see it on my laptop. I don't know if you can see this on your machines. And maybe in the darker areas down here as well. Maybe here. So those grains and that grainy area is due to your ISO being high. What do I mean by high? Anything, depending on your camera, anything that's above. We'll talk mirrorless for a second. Oh, no, we won't. We'll talk crop sensor. And I'll explain that in more detail in a second. On a crop sensor, which basically means if your sensor is what I showed you, which is inside the camera, if this is a crop sensor, which is not a big square, full frame is usually bigger. A full frame is 35mm all the way around, but a crop can be different. It can be a 1.6 crop, smaller, a 1.4, and it'll vary. Now, because it's a smaller sensor, the sensitivity to the ISO changes, and that's where you get the grain. So on a full frame camera, if I can shoot at 800 ISO, and I can get a clean image with no grain, on some crop sensors, that will give me lots of grain because it's a smaller sensor and it's more prone to, more sensitive to noise. It's called noise. The grain is called noise. So here on the crop, I might be able to shoot only at, say 400 or 200. That's the issue you only have. And the reason you get the grain is because there isn't enough light in the image. So how do we basically do that? Well, I will put, I've got another, have I got battery in here? No, I haven't. I've got battery in here. Yes, I have. Let me just pop a, whoa, that nearly went. Put the lens on here. So just to make this fair and easy to understand, I'm going to use my mirrorless camera. I shall put a card in here. And I'll show you what I mean by exposing correctly and what variables we can change. Are there any questions so far while I'm doing this? I'm not expecting you, Paul, to ask me anything. If anything, I should be asking you. Anything, guys? No? Are we all good? Right, perfect. Right, I'm just going to get this going. Yeah. Card is protected. Let's take that off. Oh. How do we do that? Check that in a minute. Right, there we are. That's on, what mode are we on? So we're going to do this. Right, guys, if your camera allows you to put it in manual mode, I don't know if you can see over here, you'll have like an M. Do put your camera in manual mode if it allows you to put it in manual mode. I'll give you guys a minute just to find out on your cameras. Now, obviously, I don't know what cameras you've got, so I'm not quite sure if you can or can't do it, okay? I'm just going to set this camera quickly. Taking that off. I'm just gonna try to find, I have not used this camera in a long time, so I'm just trying to find my settings. There it is. Focus mode, autofocus. Okay, let me get this. Okay. So that's my setting. That's what it looks like. That's what you see. And there's a light right behind me just to show that. Okay. What I'm going to do, I don't know how to use this on auto mode, and I don't know what auto mode is. Is it that one? That's auto video. Scan, auto mode. Okay. Let's play about with the camera. So I want everyone to it's a Canon. I want everyone to put their cameras. So I'm hoping you'll know how to change your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. So as you can see down here, we have shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. I want you to change these variables. So what I want you to do is change your shutter speed to where are we? I can't see. 125. So I want you to change it to 125. Then I want you to change your aperture to the lowest you can go. Obviously, yours might not look like this. It might be a different style, but mine only goes to f4 when it's zoomed out. Can I go to 3.5? 3.5, mine goes to. So many standard kit lenses will go from 2.5 to 4 and above, along those lines anyway. And I want you to put your ISO on 100. Okay, so let's just do that. What I then want you to do is, obviously I don't see it, well, I can't see it anyway. I want you to just take a shot of something, right? Even if it's a screen in front of you, or whatever it is, take a shot. So I'm just going to take a shot of the mirror, the window in front of me, and focus in the center. Depending on your light circumstances, everyone's will be different. Now, here is what my image looks like, if you guys can see. It's fairly dark. You can see that the light over here is pretty okay. Why? Because it's outside and there's plenty of light, and there's light coming inside, but there's not enough light inside. Do I have an Instagram? I do, but it's a brand new account. I've deleted my previous accounts. I got funny with Instagram, and I had a bit of an episode, so I deleted my one with Instagram. So basically, it's photography by Imran on Instagram, and there's only about, I don't know, 10 pictures on there so far. So your image will actually now look like that, which isn't perfect. Now, we can change any one of those variables. So what we're going to start with, remember we talked about ISO creating noise. We're going to change that last. So we're going to first do two things. What do these variables actually do? So once you understand how light behaves and how light works, it will make more sense in learning how to actually expose, that's what we call it, the image. So aperture, what does the aperture do and where does it be? Sharpie strong. God, what does the aperture do and how does it behave? Well, an aperture is in here, and you're not going to be able to probably see. I don't know if you can. I'll change it. I don't know if you can see it in there.
Here, Dad.
Thank you, Princess.
Here.
Okay, thank you, my baby.
We have these two papers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay!
Yay.
And
So what your aperture actually
no,
does,
this is it, Daddy.
they are actually
This
like
is Daddy.
rings. or blades inside your lens. So I'm going to try to draw
That's
a nice
that.
circle over here, which won't be perfect, and neither will the aperture blades. Now, that's what it represents. That's the aperture actually closed, which means there's no light coming in. When that starts to open, or when we start changing the f-stop number, this starts to open. So it works in a weird way. This is how it works, and it's the opposite, but it's not too hard to remember. The higher the number, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the higher the number on your aperture, the smaller the hole. The lower the number, as in 2, the bigger the hole. So again, I'm just going to draw this roughly. I'm not going to draw exactly. There's one aperture here and one over here, one hole over here, which is an opening, and one opening right over here. Maya, please move from the computer. No, because that's broken. That's not working. That's broken. You broke it the other day. So we're gonna go again with the kit lens. And we know that my kit lens only goes to 3.5. So the widest opening on my kit lens is 3.5, and the height, which is there, and the smallest opening on my lens, I think, is f22. What does f20? Yes, f22, which is this one. So that'll be like a f22. So now, easy illustration. The smaller the number, the bigger the hole. The bigger the number, the smaller the hole. What does that actually mean? So that actually means the lens in front of your camera, if the hole here is tiny, the amount of light that's coming in here is going through a small hole, and it's going to go to my sensor, which is in here. So the less light that goes in means the darker the image. Okay? We have to then allow that light to go into our sensor for a longer amount of time. So, quick recap. Sometimes this bit gets hard to follow if it's not explained properly. If we imagine the aperture to be like a window, how big is it? Do I do stock photography? Yes, I do. If you look on my website, which is photographybyimran.com, you'll see a lot of my products and stuff like that. And my stock is on Adobe, Shutterstock, and somewhere else as well. Can't remember where I put it. But I stopped doing it now, but I still sometimes do it. So if you imagine it as a window, what the aperture is doing is letting light in on a certain amount. We're talking capacity. How much light does it allow to come inside the lens? That's your aperture's function. So this is why when people want a lens that says 2.8, it basically lets more light come in the lens, which means we can work a lot easier and a lot better. Hamaya, please move from there. Thank you. The small, it doesn't work. It's broken. Now, when we look at the aperture when it's closed, we call it closed down because obviously, look, it's closed. It's close to that being closed. That is open up, which is wide. When we make it small, like f22, we have to let more light come in. When we open it up, like a 3.5, it's open wide. We can let more light coming in. So if we take a picture now, we leave all the settings the same on your camera. What were they? ISO was 100. Your shutter speed was 125, or wrong camera. And the aperture was the lowest, which was 3.5. I zoomed in, or I zoomed out? There. So I know now that picture was dark. So two things I can do. So now I know I can't let more light in because my aperture doesn't open anymore. Don't forget, it only goes to 3.5. I can't do anything else. So I can't change that anymore. If I change any higher, my image will get darker. So I'll give you an example. Why is Bluetooth on? I'll give you an example. So I'm going to go from 3.5 to 8. Take a picture. Now I'm going to show you the before and after. That's the one I've just taken now, and you can see the window and how dark it is. And that's the one I took before, and you can see how it's a lot brighter. So that was on f3.5, I let more light come in. That's on f8, I've let less light come in, which basically means there's not enough light for me to take the picture. So now I know I cannot open my aperture anymore. What do we do? Well, here's what we do. The other option I have is changing what we call the shutter speed. That's the third variable. Why? We don't want to touch the ISO just yet, and I'll go into detail in just a second. So the other thing we're going to change is the shutter speed. This behaves in a similar way to the aperture. Actually, it probably doesn't. The difference is the shutter speed actually allows the light to come in for a certain amount of time. So don't get the two confused. Aperture is how much light. Shutter speed is how long for. Okay? How much aperture, how much light is coming in. Shutter speed, how long is that light coming in for. So on 125, I wonder if I can show you this. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, so I can't show you unless I try to do this. No, it's not going to work on this camera. The shutter, this is a mirrorless camera anyway, so it won't have, it has a different way of doing things. So what I'm going to now do is we're going to change the shutter speed and bring it lower. So we had the shutter speed at 125. We're going to bring that down slowly in increments. Because all of these numbers have side effects. They all have a cause and effect kind of a thing. Like I said with the ISO, if your ISO is at 100, we'll get less grains and less noise like in these areas. If the ISO is higher, we will get a lot of grain. Now, that's the side effect of that one. The thing with the aperture is that when we have a higher aperture, we have more things in focus. When we have a lower aperture, we have less things in focus, and you get a nice blurry background. And with shutter speed, the higher the shutter speed, things get frozen in time, they're faster. The lower the shutter speed, things start going all blurry, which means you might need to use a tripod, but I'll explain that in a second. So I'm going to shoot, I'm on 125. I'm going to slide my aperture down, my shutter speed down to where I think it needs to be taken so we can see the image. I want to zoom in a wee bit. There we are. That's not going to be the best one. It might look okay on the camera, but I know it's not going to be. Oh, it's not bad actually. So here's the difference now. Whoops. There you are. So now you can see the difference in the image. That was just the window. Now the window's blown out. The window's blown out because there's a lot of light outside, obviously, but not enough inside. So that's going to happen. But f2, where's my shutter speed? 1/8 of a second. Shutter speed is, I don't know what that word means. I'm not quite sure what you're asking me. I'm sorry about that one. If that shutter speed actually goes a lot slower, we're going to start getting shake and we'll get blur. So this is where tripod comes in. So I'll just explain. I'll just shoot another shot, and this is the effect of not changing anything else. And you'll understand what I mean. Okay, this is going to be on 2 seconds. Obviously, it's going to be all blurry. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, that's really bad. But that's not what I want to show you. There's the shot on 2 seconds. You can see how bright it is. Now, why do you think it's bright? I've not changed anything. All I've changed is the shutter speed. Why is it bright, do you think? I'll give you a second to just think. That's right. I'm going to pretend you guys have answered the question in your heads correctly. The reason it's bright is because what we've done with the shutter speed is we've extended the time. We've let the light that's coming in already come in for longer than we need it to, which means it will get brighter. Now, I can't show you with this light on the laptop because the laptop is automatically compensating for the bright light. But if I was to turn this light up really high, I will get really bright if I didn't change anything else. So that is what happens. Now, I'll see if I can show you live here. It was a miracle, Paul. It was a miracle. So that's just a chair you're seeing. I can't. And that is just about right. So that exposure seems okay. It's not bad. Let's change the aperture. And you see I'm letting in. See, it's getting darker. That hole is getting smaller and it's letting in less light, so things get darker. Okay? Now the same thing will happen with the shutter speed. If I take the shutter speed lower, which means that's 2 seconds now, that light is coming in for 8 seconds and it's going to make my image really bright. So if I take it the other way around, this is a fraction of a second. That's how fast it is. You can see how it gets better. And then again, it gets slower. The faster the shutter becomes, the darker the image. Why? Because the shutter speed basically is called a curtain and it covers the shutter. And the higher the number, the faster it goes like this, which means it's stopping light coming in. It's going and the slower it goes, nice and slow. It's allowing it in for that much amount of time. Fast, 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 and then slower. Again, these are fractions of a number. The higher they go, the less it becomes. So now what we're going to say is, let's say that I cannot hold it any lower than 1/60th. So on 1/60th, on that setting there, I can't hold the camera without getting any blur. Okay, so then the last option I have is I have to change my ISO. So I'm going to now change my ISO until it's right about here. Let's take the picture again with this. Oh, this is not bad. Actually, this is going to explain it quite well. Let's get that right. There, that's a good shot. Okay, so this is going to explain quite nicely what I mean by the blur. So first thing we're going to look at, here's what I've done. I've changed my ISO to 1600, but I know I can hold the camera well at 1/60th because the human, we can hold it on 1/60th. When you take an image on the camera, it usually looks quite good because the pixels are so good, the density is so high that your image looks crisp. But when you go back to the machine and put it up, you'll see movement or blur or something in there. But on 160, we really do start getting a little bit of blur unless you're like military and soldier and you can hold it so still. So do this experiment yourself. Put it on a lower shutter speed than 1/60th and see how, where about you can hold it until blur starts coming in. So that's my last option. But if you can, I don't know if you can see in that image, you can see that this bit here is actually blurred. It's out of focus. Can you see that? See that? The chair's in. That's out of focus. The reason that is because I'm shooting at 4.5 because I zoomed in a little bit. And what happens is, like I said, the lower the number, you do get more light coming in, but the knock-on effect is you get more blur. You get less in focus and you get more blur. That's the that's the other thing. That's the word for it? There's a word, I can't remember the word. And if I now, for example, show you on a high, on f22, I need to take my ISO up pretty high. And we should now get more in focus, but you'll also see it's a lot more grainier. So it's in focus, it's a lot more grainy now as well, which is because I took my ISO to 250,000. So this is why you don't really want to be using high ISO. So the solution, how do I get a nice shot at a 100 ISO in my situation? Well, there's two things we can do. Leave it. So for me to actually get a shot here, I will put it here on the laptop. I will bring my ISO back to 100. I'm going to take my aperture to f8 because I want a bit more in focus. And I'm going to use only my shutter speed to bring the image into exposure. So it needs to be about here. So I'll take two shots about here. I'll take two shots. I'll take one handheld like now, and I'll try to focus on the box there. Okay, that's handheld. Let's have a look at the shot. Not bad, but there is a little bit of motion blur. There's a little bit of blur, as you can see over there. Now, what I'm going to do is take the same shot. I'm just going to put it down here so I can see. And I'm going to use my timer. And I'm going to try to take the shot, same shot again. And we can see the difference. 1, 2. Not touching it. Perfect. Okay. And then if I just hold it in the same angle and take it with my hand. So here's the difference. So here we are, just so it's exactly fair. Handheld, you can clearly see that's blurry. And then that's when I laid it just on my laptop. You can see it's perfectly in focus. There's a difference. See that? You can actually even see all the writing. See the difference? And all I did was I rested it. I know the settings are exactly the same, they've not changed. So the way I had to, this is why you have to sometimes think about what do I need the image? What am I doing with this? So I hope that makes sense, guys. I know that's a lot to take in, but experiment. Put your camera on manual mode. Play with these three variables, okay? Don't forget, aperture will determine how much light is coming in. Shutter speed will determine how long it's coming for, and the ISO is going to give you grain as you go higher. If you're on a crop sensor or a mirrorless, some mirrorless cameras, unless it's a full frame. If you're on a full frame, you're going to be a lot better. But if you're on a crop, you're going to be a little bit screwed. The difference between the two is, I'll show you the sensor size of my crop mirrorless and my full frame, so you can see the difference. That one's actually got the flip mirror in front of it. The sensor is behind there, so I'm not going to get up, but you can see how small that one is and how big that one is. That's the mirror reflex, and the sensor's behind there. That's why it's called the SLR. It's a single lens reflex camera. So when I take a shot, that goes up and down. Okay. Are there any questions? If you guys enjoyed that, guys, give me some feedback. Let me know if you want to do that again. Again, I have got a video that explains it in a bit more detail on my channel. I'll put a link up there. You can watch that. Any questions, hit me up, any one of them. If you want me to do another live and explain any one of those variables in more detail, I'm happy to do that. And while you're here, cheap plug, guys, do consider subscribing. I will be doing more obviously. I need to do more on the beginners in terms of what each variable does and how it behaves and what's what. When's the next one? I'm not sure, Paul. I'm just doing a taster. 5 people, 6 people. It's not a bad outcome for an hour. I can waffle on a bit sometimes. Next one, we'll see how the response is and what people are saying. They'll either say, get off the camera, or they'll say, get back on the camera. Right, guys. You're all now professional photographers from the Institute of Photography by Imran Academy. Those of you guys in Dubai, if you guys want to get out, give me a shout. I'm happy to take you out at some point. We can have a quick tour, or we can have a quick walk, and I can show you some bits and bats. If you need to have any questions, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Photography by Imran on all platforms. It's literally the same. Give me a shout, give me a follow, give me a question. I'm more than happy to help everyone. So from me, the Mirza family, goodbye from us. We can say bye-bye, Himayah.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, bye from me and bye from you. Bye from my team. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.